Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
Thank you for being with us and taking our questions. So what have been the main takeaways so far from the annual meeting here in Tbilisi?
So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me, and also thank the government of Georgia for hosting this annual meeting, the 57th annual meeting of the ADBs Board of Governors. So every year we get together, bring in the governors of all the member countries to one place, and we talk about what we've done in the past 1 year and then what we intend to do in the next 1 year, and bring in the stakeholders to discuss and be on the same page in the vision and implementation of ADB's work. So this year's theme is about bridge to the future. So that means we're coming from development work for the last 50 plus years, and then as you know, we just come out of the COVID-19. So what is the future as we shift towards prosperity, sustainability, inclusiveness, and resilience for all our developing member countries. And we do that by making a major shift towards doing more climate change related work, because every country needs to be contributing to decarbonization, but also every country needs to build its resilience against climate change. And second shift is about private sector shift, because we have an annual lending of 26 billion up to last year, but now with the new and improved capital optimization, we can lend up to $36 billion a year, but that's not enough money to do all the development work across the Asia and the Pacific region. So the only way for us to go from billions to trillion is to mobilize private capital. So the second shift is private sector capital, and we're discussing various aspects of those two shifts with the governors, the public sector agencies, private sector companies, banks, civil society organizations, think tanks, and academia, so that we can crowd in the wisdom from everyone and money from everyone to make Asia and the Pacific a much better place to go.
So what is the logic of specific topics that you will be covering during this annual meeting, and how do these topics make this final puzzle that you want to build, which is a bridge to the future? Because I saw that the meetings and panels will be discussing like capital markets development, green transition, also the middle corridor, which is very important in light of Russia's war in Ukraine, and also the COVID pandemic, which has disrupted this supply chains.
So there are many different knowledge events that's happening across the next few days. A big chunk of those seminars and meetings are focused on climate change. How do we promote low carbon, green economic development opportunities by providing more renewable energy projects and energy efficiency? And also at the same time, we do have a lot of activities related to climate adaptation. So how do we build climate adaptation, resilience for various countries and at the project level as well? And then there are various tools through which that we can actually enable. So one is, like I mentioned, private sector mobilization. And the second thing is we also need to harness the digital technology, AI, so that we can improve the way we do business much better. So for example, when we do transport systems, how do we build an intelligent transport system using AI platform? So that's one of the topics that's being discussed. We always have a topic related to gender mainstreaming, so that we can make sure that 50% of the population benefits and also contributes to the development work. So that's also part of it. And we have a series of civil society related meetings, and those, we call that the civil society program. And those are designed and run by the civil society organizations. Of course, with ADB participants, private sector participants, the governments all join in. so that we give them the platform to be free-spirited, to talk about any topic under the overall theme of the bridging to the future. We also have quite a bit of focus on youth engagement, because at the end of the day, when we talk about bridging to the future and future generation, it's about the young people, right? So we have to engage them so that they can contribute to the actual discussion and designing and implementing the future programs.
Whose agenda is this green transition? Because looking at ADB and looking at its members, including Georgia, these are not like very, very rich countries that already have resources to look to the future, because they have quite challenges, day-to-day challenges that they have to address on the ground. So whose agenda is this? And do you see this urge to participate in something that might seem quite a long way and not right now, here and now?
Yeah, so I would say it is a long-term investment, and it's the agenda of the future generation. Unless we do actions now, we cannot change the course of the world's development in a way that's sustainable and that ensures that the planet is still there, that's livable, and the healthy and beautiful planet that we live on, we want to leave that to the children and grandchildren. So in order to do that, we need to mobilize all of the communities around the world, both the developed countries where they have financial resources and developing countries which are benefiting through the development support, and also the private sector, who are actually looking for business opportunity and yet to do the great things for the planet. So the reducing greenhouse gas, for example, is something that we need to do immediately, so that in the longer run, the temperature rise is limited to something that's sustainable. And then the resilience part, it's more immediate, because the people who are actually living today, they're prone to floods that's happening, that's supposed to be once a 100-year flood that's happening every few years. And that has a direct impact on people's lives now. So investing in projects and programs that builds infrastructure resilience as well as the people's skills resilience is quite important. And we also have a huge program on educating the future too. So in order for the future to be sustained, we need to have young people who are properly educated so that they can sustain the work they do in the future.
So what would be some of the measurable outcomes that you want to see as a result of this gathering and as a result of this meeting, since we are talking about the long-term goals that you will be discussing here in Tbilisi?
Yeah, so the measurable outcome is an agreement of all the stakeholders, especially led by the 68 member countries, to be able to agree that ADB's development agenda is on the right path. So shift to the climate, shift to private sector, and our capital optimization process that we've developed to get the endorsement from the shareholders, so that we can implement these programs in the next 1 year until we meet again next year in May 2025.
I know that you are very tight on schedule. Thank you for being with us. And my last question, I would like us to remind what the mandate and what the structure of ADB is in general, because you mentioned civil society several times, and civil society has addressed recently ADB to comment on recent events that are unfolding on Rustaveli Avenue. So I just want us to remind what type of structure is ADB, what is its mandate, and why you are here today, and what you are discussing with not only just the government, but all the stakeholders that are involved, and delegates also that are involved in these meetings for this period of time, 2 to 5 May.
No, so our mandate has always been to eliminate poverty in our region. That means building infrastructure, building social infrastructure, health education facilities, educating people, providing proper government strengthening to have an institutional framework that's sustainable. But in the recent times, we recognize that the climate change is an important issue that we must tackle. So climate change and development need to work together to achieve the ultimate poverty eradication. So in order for us to do this, the government sector has to be involved, private sector has to be involved, academia as well as the civil society who can provide us feedback on what we're doing. So we need to hear from everybody. Many times we might not agree on everything, which is good. If you don't want a discussion where everyone agrees all the time, that means you're not adding value to each other. So you want some opposing views. So based on those, we take the right path, which is optimal. So we can bridge to the future to next 100 years.
So what would be your main message? What do you want to be the main takeaway from this, our short interview? And thank you again for that, and also for this 3 days.
My main message is that everybody needs to work together. It's really urgent that we do, because we're not competing against each other. Private sector, public sector, civil society, we're not competing with each other. Our competition is against time, because the longer it takes for us to get a proper handle on climate change, more difficult it is for us to have a prosperous future. So the race is against time, not with each other. So let's all work together in a peaceful and harmonious way, but with a very strong vision so that we can actually take the sustainable future in coming years.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.